It had been 7 years since I met Lisa, and the last 2 years had been increasingly difficult. I remember when we first met, her smile felt like home, and her laugh was something I could never forget. She had this warmth about her that pulled me in and made me feel like everything was going to be okay. We got married quickly after meeting as things felt right, or at least that's what I told myself at the time. There was no real reason to doubt her, no reason to question her commitment. For years, I believed that our relationship was solid, that we were a team. Lisa was my rock, the person I trusted with everything. She had a way of making me feel safe, loved, and admired. We built our lives together, small vacations, shared ambitions, quiet nights at home. Even when our careers took us in different directions, we remained connected. But something started to change slowly at first, so quietly that it was easy to ignore. Lisa began coming home later than usual, sometimes hours later. Her calls were brief, and her texts felt distant. At first, I convinced myself it was nothing, just the stress of work. But deep down, I felt the growing unease. The small, seemingly insignificant changes were too numerous to dismiss. There were late nights at the office when she swore she was busy with a project, but I began noticing discrepancies in her stories. The details didn't add up, little things, like the way she would look at her phone when I walked into the room, or how she would be quick to change the subject whenever I asked about her day. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was being paranoid. Lisa was still my wife, the woman I'd spent years loving, the one who held my heart. Surely it was nothing. I had no concrete evidence, just a gnawing feeling that something wasn't right. But as time passed, the signs grew more glaring. She would leave her phone face down, a new habit I hadn't noticed before. She started wearing clothes I'd never seen her wear, more attention to her appearance, even though she never had been particularly high maintenance. Her eyes were distant, her laughter less genuine. Our conversations, once filled with dreams and plans, became strained, like we were both going through the motions. One evening, when I came home early from work, I found Lisa's phone on the kitchen counter. Normally, she would carry it with her, even into the bathroom. But there it was, lying face up, its screen glowing with a message notification. My heart raced. I knew it was wrong to look, but I couldn't stop myself. The message was from a number I didn't recognize, and as I read it, my stomach dropped. The message wasn't friendly, it was intimate. Too intimate for a simple colleague. My fingers trembled as I read it. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I'll be waiting at the hotel," it said. I felt my heart shatter in an instant. It was all I needed to see. My mind screamed, and my body froze. Lisa wasn't just late anymore. She was meeting someone. Someone who wasn't me. It didn't make sense at first. How could she? How could the woman I loved, the woman who promised to always be there for me, betray me like this? My thoughts scrambled, every memory, every moment we had shared suddenly twisting into something unrecognizable. Was this the real Lisa? Or had I been living a lie all this time? I wanted to confront her, demand answers, but I was paralyzed by the shock. I didn't know what to do, how to process this newfound truth. I wasn't ready to believe it, but deep down, I knew there was no denying it. The truth had been staring me in the face for weeks, and I had ignored it, convinced myself everything was fine. I felt rage bubbling inside me. It wasn't just betrayal. It was the years of trust one had given her, the love I had invested into our marriage. How could she do this? How could she throw it all away for someone else? And why didn't I see it sooner? The anger started to overtake the disbelief. My heart ached, but my fists clenched. I didn't know what to do, but I knew one thing. I needed answers. I had to confront her. But how? Should I wait for her to come home, to face her with the proof of her betrayal? Or should I do something more drastic? Find her, call the hotel, expose her lies for what they were? The feeling of betrayal was suffocating. Every part of me wanted to scream, to lash out, but I remained still, paralyzed by the overwhelming sense of hurt. How could someone so close, so intimate, turn their back on me like this? I loved her, and she had broken everything we had built. But there was one thing I knew for sure. She would never get away with this. The moment I saw that message, my mind raced with thoughts I couldn't control. I wanted to throw the phone, shout, demand answers right then and there, but I knew I had to stay calm. It was like a cold, hard realization hit me all at once. Everything that had felt right in my marriage was now called into question. The woman I had shared my life with, my partner in everything, had been hiding this secret from me. How had I not seen the signs? I felt a mix of disbelief and disgust as I replayed every conversation, every gesture, every quiet night at home. The cracks were there, and I'd ignored them. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, staring at the message, trying to make sense of it. The longer I looked at it, the more everything around me seemed to blur. My thoughts were a jumbled mess. I needed answers, and I needed them now. I couldn't wait for her to come home and lie to my face. I needed to know the truth, and I needed to confront her. There was no going back. I had to do something. I grabbed my coat and headed out the door. The hotel, where she was meeting him, wasn't far. The drive felt like it took forever, each second heavier than the last. My heart hammered in my chest, the thought of what I might find, what I might hear, almost too much to bear. Was I really ready for this? Was I ready to face the truth about my wife? I kept asking myself if it was all just some misunderstanding, if there was some explanation, but deep down I knew that was a lie. The evidence was right there in front of me. There was no more pretending. I arrived at the hotel, my hands shaking as I parked. I sat in the car for a moment, trying to collect myself. Was I about to ruin everything? The marriage, the life we had built, the future we'd once dreamed about? But that question was quickly overshadowed by a greater one. How could she do this to me? I had trusted her. I had given her everything. I had loved her completely, and now she had betrayed me with someone else. The anger was rising again, filling my chest like a fire. I walked into the hotel lobby and approached the front desk, my voice tight with emotion. "I'm looking for my wife," I said, barely able to control my words. "She's here with someone, a man. Can you tell me what room they're in?" The receptionist looked at me, a bit surprised, but after a moment, she nodded and gave me the room number. I could feel the sweat on my palms, the pressure building in my chest. I was walking into the lion's den, but I couldn't back down. Not now. I stood in front of the door to the room, my breathing shallow, my heart racing. I could feel my pulse in my ears. What if she wasn't there? What if I was making a huge mistake? But I knew that wasn't the case. I had the proof. I was standing at the precipice of the truth, and I couldn't turn away from it. I knocked once, then twice, before I heard movement from inside. My stomach twisted in knots, and I tried to steady myself, but nothing could prep up. I walked away from that hotel room with a sense of finality that I hadn't anticipated. The confrontation was everything I'd feared, yet it was something I couldn't avoid. Lisa's face, the confusion, the guilt in her eyes, they were like daggers that kept turning in my chest. I had to leave. There was no more reasoning with her, no more room for explanations. The truth had been laid bare. I didn't need to hear anything more. She had chosen him, and in doing so, she had torn apart everything we had. But as I drove back home, the weight of everything hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't just anger that I felt, it was deep, unrelenting sadness. I thought about all the years we had spent together, all the promises we had made. I thought about the future I had imagined with her. I had believed, with every fiber of my being, that she was the one. And now, I was left with nothing but an empty house and a broken heart. I parked in front of the house, still numb, my mind buzzing with 1,000 thoughts. I didn't even know where to begin. What did I do now? I couldn't go back. The trust was gone, and with it, the foundation of our marriage. But what did it all mean? How could someone who once meant everything to me become the source of my deepest pain? I needed answers, but the problem was I already had them. There was no magic solution that would suddenly make this okay. She had made her choice, and now I had to make mine. I walked inside, the silence of the house hitting me like a wall. The familiar comfort of our home was gone, replaced by an emptiness that seemed to grow with every step I took. It was hard to breathe in here. Everywhere I looked, there were memories. Pictures of our trips, the little notes we'd written to each other over the years, the things we'd collected together. How had it all unraveled so quickly? I sat down on the couch, staring at the empty space beside me where Lisa used to sit. The realization that I would never again see her there, that I would never again have those simple moments with her, hit me with a depth I couldn't explain. The anger was still there, simmering just beneath the surface, but it was mixed with something else now, something darker, something more painful. Betrayal. I couldn't escape it. It clung to me, suffocating me. I had trusted her, loved her, given her everything. And she had repaid me with lies, with deceit. It wasn't just the affair, it was the way she had so easily thrown away everything we had. It was the way she had made a fool of me, had lied to my face for months, pretending that everything was fine. I wanted to pick up the phone and call her. I wanted to yell at her, demand answers, make her feel the way I did. But part of me knew that would only be adding fuel to the fire. What could I possibly say to her that would make any difference now? She had already shown me who she was. She had already chosen him. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. I didn't know what hurt more, the fact that she had betrayed me, or the fact that she had chosen someone else over me. I couldn't stand the thought of her with him. The image of them together, laughing, sharing intimate moments, creating memories that I would never be a part of, gnawed at me. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about everything that led up to it. It was about how she had pulled away from me, how I had noticed the distance but hadn't known what to do about it. It was about the lies she had told, the things she had hidden from me. I felt like I didn't even know who she was anymore. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to be filled with rage, to burn with the desire for revenge. But the truth was, I was exhausted. The emotional roller coaster of the past few weeks had drained me. I couldn't fight anymore. I couldn't chase after someone who had already made it clear that she didn't want me. She had broken me, and I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't even know if I wanted to fix it. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of my thoughts. I looked down at it, half expecting to see Lisa's name on the screen. But it was a message from a mutual friend, someone I hadn't spoken to in a while. The message was simple. Are you okay? I stared at it for a long time, unsure of how to respond. How could I explain what had just happened? How could I tell someone that the person I had loved and trusted had destroyed everything between us? I didn't answer right away. I didn't have the words. There was no easy explanation for this kind of pain. It was like everything I had believed in had been shattered, and I was left standing in the rubble, unsure of where to go next. Part of me wanted to pick up the pieces, to try to rebuild what was left. But I knew that wasn't possible. Lisa had made her choice, and I had to make mine. It wasn't about revenge anymore, it was about moving on. I couldn't stay in this place, stuck in the past, holding on to a version of our relationship that no longer existed. I had to find a way to heal, to let go of the pain, even if that meant letting go of her. I didn't respond to the message. Instead, I took a deep breath and looked at the empty space around me. There was nothing left to salvage, no way to turn back time. All I could do was move forward, even if I didn't know where that would lead. I spent the following days in a haze, not quite sure of what to do with myself. The house felt like a prison, each room a reminder of what I had lost. I couldn't even look at our shared spaces without feeling the weight of betrayal crushing me. The silence was deafening, and every corner I turned seemed to echo with memories of better times. The truth had been laid bare, and there was no escaping it. Lisa was gone, and with her, everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and commitment. I could feel the anger still simmering beneath the surface, but it had been replaced by something more complex: indifference. What was the point in being angry anymore? What was the point in fighting for something that was already broken? The more I thought about it, the more it became clear to me that there was no going back. Lisa had made her choice. She had chosen him. And in doing so, she had erased any chance of repairing what we had. I thought about confronting her again, demanding answers. But then I stopped myself. What could she possibly say that would make any of this better? What could she possibly say that would undo the hurt, the betrayal, the lies? There was nothing left to say. The words between us had already been spoken, and they were all lies. Every single one of them. The late nights, the distractions, the empty promises, all of it had led to this. And now I was left to pick up the pieces. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to feel anymore. I wanted to hate her, to feel nothing but rage. But the truth was, I didn't have the energy for hate. The anger was exhausting. I didn't want to hold on to it any longer. It wasn't worth it. I realized that my feelings for Lisa were no longer about love or even betrayal. They were about loss. I had lost the woman I thought I knew, the life we had built, the future I had imagined. The anger was a distraction, something to focus on, but it didn't change the fact that everything had fallen apart. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't the affair. It was the realization that I had invested everything in someone who had never really been invested in me. Lisa had chosen him because, in the end, she wasn't willing to fight for us. She had made her decision long before I confronted her. The emotional connection, the trust, the commitment.